Madden. What are your thoughts on that?
You're probably going to see that announcement made tomorrow. That would be my guess. Basically, it's faux pas and kind of Major League Baseball has to keep things tight, and what they say goes. And in this particular situation, it's during the World Series, no major announcements. Justin Smoke made a move that helps out Milwaukee a little bit, but
move.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's one of the things where they're kind of holding off. They're playing it smart because right now, from what I understand, I guess Tampa might be a little bit upset about this, even though that like I said, they are cool with letting guys at least in their front office come and go as they wish, even though they haven't really had much turnover in that aspect. But not having these guys underneath contract, and considering the fact that Andrew Friedman's been considerably underpaid, and same thing with Joe Madden, at least for their results. They're going to consider looking at tampering here. We'll see what shakes. The Cubs are pretty confident they didn't tamper, so they're not really all too worried about that. But you're going to see an announcement probably come out tomorrow, at least officially, if not have a press conference. But I can't think of a better manager right now for the Chicago Cubs, or a better fit even for that for Joe Madden right now. You look at maybe Minnesota, New York, all these other teams, already committed to their managers, with the exception of Minnesota there. But Joe's super innovative, extremely thoughtful. He's not a slave to handedness. This is something where it's a great fit. You think a guy like Alcantara that came up, last year with the Cubs. One of the minor league players. They've been bringing him up, can play a bunch of different positions, switch hitter. That's one of those situations where Joe, being as innovative as he is, he might consider telling him, you know what, don't switch hit against this particular pitcher for this given reason. He looks at the metrics, but he uses, all of his knowledge and everything that he's learned of the game. He uses that to help him make a decision with his gut. And that's kind of been the most, impressive thing about him. And just, man, it's just really exciting to see kind of what's going to happen here because, there's right now a lot of stopgaps where we have, an influx of minor league players and prospects that are going to come up in the positions that are already filled. And the thing that's great about that is that a lot of these players are able to play a variety of different positions. So, knowing Joe the way he is, always changing the lineup, always looking to switch things up, always looking to be creative. That's one of those things where I think having all of these young players, eventually, you're going to move some of those, those highly rated prospects. However, you can flip them around in different positions, and you can basically just have, a giant, a whole roster full of just, super utility guys, a bunch of Ben Zobrist, so to speak. And so it's going to be interesting to see what happens here. But I got to tell you, man, it's exciting.
I was a Cubs fan for the first 20, 21 years of my life. Now I just don't give a crap. How many years away are we from a Cubs World Series appearance or victory? Okay.
Yeah, in terms of just getting into the postseason. Yeah, they're looking for sustained success. And I know we talked before about just kind of the randomness about the playoffs, and a lot of the times there's this thing that where you're going to see Clayton Kershaw fall off the table. He ain't going to look good, and you just got to keep putting yourself in a position to make it into the postseason. And once you make it in there, the more chances you get, hopefully you're going to come out with one. And looking at what Joe's going to be able to do, with the Cubs, it's going to be interesting. I wouldn't be surprised to see them make the postseason. Not next year, but probably the year after that. It's one of those things where, he's going to get acclimated, kind of learn some of his guys, and during that course, they're going to be, developing players. And that's the biggest thing here is he's, so familiar with developing these ball players and keeping everybody comfortable and loose. And that's going to, playing right along with the guys that are coming up. He's going to be able to kind of work them in as he can. And when it comes down to it, this year it wouldn't be a surprise if they make the playoffs, but really I think for sure you can put them down 2016 to at least making it into the postseason.
Okay, so they've been a couple years away for the last 3 years. So this is legitimate.
Except since when Theo came over. That's the biggest misconception. I mean, I can't tell you the numerous amount of Twitter wars that I've gotten into where, people are asking, oh, we're going out here and we're getting Joe Madden. Is he on the field? Or, why are we picking up this other player, or a free agent? Those are completely independent situations. This is a guy that can come up right now, take control of your ball club, and actually, has a philosophy and a mindset that he's going to be able to, enact with all these prospects that are coming up. I mean, eventually they're going to start seeing money come in. It's not a matter of, signing one free agent over another or over a manager, whatever. It has nothing to do with anything. You don't have to worry about Lou Piniella or comparing him to any of these other managers or Dusty Baker. Completely different situation. This is a guy, he is the best tactical manager, arguably, okay, right now in the major leagues. There's guys right now, they're crawling up his phone right now, trying to get him to either be their GM or their front office guy or working for different broadcasters because he looks at so many of the intricate details of this game and has such a great perspective on it all. That's what makes him so valuable. When you look at, Lou and Dusty, man, they were at the end of the line there. They kind of lost that passion, and you saw that. So, but I think it's not something you're going to see with Joe Madden.
Well, when you look at the, with Joe Madden, all these fans, what's the difference between one more year and it's like all these fans just became impatient in 2003. It's like, okay, you've been waiting for 95 years at this point. What's the difference between another 5?
Well, I think the biggest difference there was the fact that there wasn't a plan. As soon as Jed and Theo came on board, there was a very descriptive plan, set into place, and it's been developing over time. And for people, a lot of times there's the things that happen at the minor league levels and the lower levels, they kind of, happen underground, if you will, where, they're not able to see that progress that's being made. This is an organization that took their minor league team from 29th in the majors to number 1 in 2.5 years. That's ridiculous to make that much turnover in that short period of time.
Do you think that's legit, or do you think that's just perception that Jed and Theo, quote unquote, know what they're doing?
I would have to say they absolutely know what they're doing. I mean, they basically turned Boston into a top flight, franchise. But
Theo, they also had Manny and.
Well, that's the difference. Those pieces were in place. This is something that's brand new, man. This has never been done before, where you have a major market.
We're giving too much credit to Theo. I don't think that. I think we're giving too much credit to Theo for building a. He went out and made trades and stuff. He didn't build up. From the. When he left Boston, there wasn't really a good farm system when he left.
Okay, yeah, no, and that's fine. I mean, but you got to think of all the guys that he brought up between Lester and Buchholz. I mean, they've had the scouting and the player development. Everything's kind of been in place. The biggest thing, again, is that people aren't seeing the progress that's being made underground. They've looked stupid on Twitter. Several times, because of different situations with Anibal Sanchez, and kind of some of these other things. I mean, now say this news conference doesn't happen tomorrow with Joe Madden and that blows up in their face, then you might have an issue. But I mean, when it really comes down to it, they've done everything that they said they were going to do, and said they were going to do, and probably one of the more surprising things, at least to me, a guy that's keeping a close eye on it, they brought in all these different top prospects. And, that's the whole part is, building that foundation. I feel that, watching them, make the major strides that they've had at the minor league level, they've built that foundation. You're starting to see that, flood into the majors now with guys like Baez, and you also kind of see Jorge Soler last year was a friggin' revelation. I mean, seeing what he's able to do, that was such a great pick on their behalf. Hopefully he's able to continue. He's been injured on and off during his minor league time, and I think you'll probably see him start off maybe in the minors next year. But, when you look at their starting rotation, this was the biggest surprise to me. Looking at some of their prospects, okay, so they kind of turned around Jake Arrieta, but they picked up a guy like Jacob Turner, Felix Doubront, Danny Straley, Justin Grimm. These were all top prospects within other organizations that they were able to somehow acquire, whether it be through a trade or through claiming a guy off waivers or just signing them. It's just, getting that collection. Eventually you're going to get at least a couple guys, that are going to be able to pop out of that. And then at that point, then you start augmenting the team with free agents. And that's something that, again, has kind of, blinded people to the progress that the Cubs have made and that Theo has made since he came on board, is that they basically told you, we're going to suck for 4 years because we want those draft picks. We want high draft picks. We're not going to waste money on guys that aren't going to help us, and we're going to be competitive, which isn't now, okay, and that's probably what bothers most people. But the biggest thing is that they haven't gone out there and spent that stupid money, except for that one deal with Edward Jackson. But, outside of that, they haven't added through free agency yet. You wait. This offseason, they're going to make free agent moves. It's going to be, people are going to have a lot different perspective heading into next season.
With they're counting a lot on these young guys like Soler and Baez. These guys strike out a crap load. Is that, are we, that's not the, you don't want a guy that strikes out a lot. You want a guy that puts the ball in play. It's not a recipe for
absolutely.
success.
And that's their philosophy. I think that's probably going to be one of the moves they're going to make outside of just adding starting pitching this year. They're going to go out there. They're going to add, probably a veteran outfielder, corner outfielder, possibly a catcher. But in terms of the veteran outfielder, they want a guy that's going to be a high on-base percentage guy, a guy like Melky Cabrera that can come in here, get on base all the time for them. Someone that's going to be able to get on base for the younger prospects, all the younger power hitters, to come and drive them in. And now the biggest thing, you said, they tend to strike out a lot. Baez, yes. That was one of the things where it's kind of understood within the organization that they're going to let him swing out of his shoes. They're going to try to help him with his swing and some other things, but they love his raw power, and they're trying to just refine his power, trying to find a way to harness that. But, when it comes down to prospects like Chris Bryant and Addison Russell, even Jorge Soler, these are all guys where they're teaching that organizational philosophy, the Cubs way, in quotes, if you will, of getting on base, high on base percentage, being selective with your pitching, with your pitches and what you're going to swing at, and basically, stretching out ball games, into those New York, Boston games where, it takes 7 hours to go through a game because you're looking at a lot of pitches, because you're taking your time, and thinking about what you're doing. And so, yeah, you're going to see that with Baez, where you're going to see a lot of strikeouts. But these other guys, like I said, like Soler, and then once you see Chris Bryant come up next year, you wait, man. He's gonna blow you out of your stock.
Looking at, with Soler and Baez, I don't know. With Baez, it's like, yeah, okay, raw power and all that stuff. But the last time the Cubs let somebody, just do what they want with their raw power was Alfonso Soriano. And that led them to 2 sweeps in the first round of the playoffs, the divisional series.
Yeah, but that's not a guy they developed. And secondly, which is probably the most important thing, this is a completely different organization. This isn't the Jim Hendry Cubs or or any of that. This is a completely different team taking care of. It's a brand new organization. I think that's a part that people are missing here, is that there's never been a major rebuild of, a major market team.